Good evening. It's Wednesday today, I think. You know how days go. They're a bit samey, but all different, you know. I was prepared, and now sadly I'm not. I need to just quickly look at something on my phone, which is not there. Thanks for that. You were supposed to be helpful. Oh no, there it is. That's what I wanted. What's the date today? It's the 22nd. So it's blue bin tomorrow. Right. Just checking. Need to know what I'm doing. Oh, when's brown bin day? Brown goes up with green. Right. You needn't worry not. Okay, so we need to work on, let's have a look. We need to work on this bit and this bit, so we can do this bit and then tie all of them off. Because, well, the more bobbins we get off the pillow, the happier. So, let's extract you out of there, because you're just being silly. Right, let's... So far all I've done is managed to make this longer. It's not giving me the loop. There you go. What are you doing, dogs? I know you better. I do. shortening these. Sewing them in 2 minutes. So let's put you out the way then. Try that again. Well, that's wrong. So, what was wrong? You were not the pair. You and you. It's you two that were the pair. That's still not right. How can that still not be right? For goodness sake. It's okay, you can fall asleep, we don't mind. You can listen to the bobbles bibbling away and fall asleep. That works. That works, mate. How are you? How are things your end? I appreciate the effort of being here, believe me. So yes, we have really stonked through this triangle. Well, we stonked through the last one because we did it in like 2.5 days or something ridiculous. Dog, go away. Dog's now trying to be helpful. You're not. You do know that your head on my arm is not a helpful thing, right? So yes. Nothing wrong with unpostable. Oh, Rory. Excuse me while I hug the dog because he's feeling needy. I understand. I mean, I can't talk about what I do for a job. It's just not allowed. Oh, ad break in a couple of minutes. So yes, I appreciate you for coming. And I do appreciate that it must be late there. I'm not quite sure how far ahead of me you are, but I'm guessing it's nearer 10, 11 o'clock at night there. So, you know, Rory, I'm trying to speak. Try not to put your tongue in my mouth, my man. French kissed by the dog is not the way I wish to die, right? Says Rory, pushing my cushion. Thank you for that. He's sitting on my lap now, which normally I would consider this good of him. But while I'm trying to stream, this is not so helpful. Seriously, I go through waves where 10 o'clock at night feels like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I go through waves where 3 o'clock in the morning feels like 8 p.m. So, to be honest, the 3 o'clock, if I'm really awake at like 2, 3 in the morning, that's usually when I decide to do radical, strange things like paint the kitchen. It's a bit like, kind of, bear in mind I don't drink, but it's a bit like having a few too many beers or whatever, thinking something's a really good idea that's just not a good idea, and going for it. And so, stone cold sober, 2 o'clock in the morning, my brain will go, hey, let's paint the kitchen. Okay, thanks, brain. My brain is really not an adult. I very much understand that problem. I used to be a gymnast when I was a kid, so in my head, I'm still that. But at 52, I have the body of a 963-year-old on occasions. On other occasions, I probably could give it a go. But it's like a 3-second window. And if you miss it, you're going to die when you land on your head and break your neck. So, it's... I have the enthusiasm, I have the plans, I have the... Oh, come on, I haven't left this house since the 12th of August last year, and even that was to forcefully go to the hospital for a checkup I didn't want. And that was the first time out in a while, so, honey, I'm not going to judge you for not wanting to go out. Dear Lord, no. So yeah, it's, you know, life's... Well, I've always wondered that, and I mean, to be honest, I'm not someone who entirely understands the wanting to go to the gym scenario. In part because, well, yes. You see, that's kind of my level of problem, is that I am, without beating around the bush, pretty unfit. And by the time, if I went to a gym and got changed, I'd be out of breath by the time I did that, let alone by the time I sat on anything. So I need something that I can do small and often to get going, and then slowly build up bits that I'm getting on with and enjoying. Yeah. Rory, I need you off, my man. I do. I'm sorry. Come on. Oh, well, lie down there, then. Lie down there. I need to do this. This is not going to happen with you there. Well, I can't relate to that, but I kind of relate to that. You have escaped. Okay, fair enough. The ad system is a little hit and miss. Sometimes people get ads, sometimes people get all the ads, sometimes people don't get any of the ads. So I can only go on what on Twitch tells me, and it tells me I've got 1 minute 25 more of ads, so that somewhere someone would potentially have been getting another 1 minute and 25 of ads. So it's yeah. To be honest, I get really aggravated with ads because things like Facebook are full of them. My Facebook feed is almost rarely stuff I asked for, because it will be ad, suggested dude you've never heard of, another suggested group you've never heard of, an ad, maybe a post from someone that you actually asked for, an ad, and 2 or 3 more suggested groups. If I wanted to see them, I'd go looking. Exactly, I'd actually say it's worse than that. And I think, that does depend a little on where you are and who you are and what it thinks it knows about you. But, there's one guy I watch, he's called the Hoof GP, and frankly all he does is trim cow hooves. Not quite sure why I find it so fascinating, but I do, so whatever. I cannot watch a single one of his videos, which is usually less than 10 minutes, without at least 2 or 3 sets of ads. And it's like, it's so infuriating. It just shouldn't need to be that bad. Yeah. It's kind of my favourite. Well, apparently Facebook thinks I'm really into wolf porn. Now, I know our discussion, but it doesn't know that. Well, and this is the... Well, I've got ad blockers. But problem is with an awful lot of the ads these days is people know that people have ad blockers. So what they do is that they put the ads in at source. So if you want to see the video, you have to see the ad because they just insert it into the stream. And I've got a reasonable amount of ad blocking going on, but That's because he sneaks in. But it's just one of those things, is that, you know, and in answer to your question, Silky, it's adverts for books, stories, it's, yeah. So it's stories basically about women defaulting to their alpha male, and pictures of wolves, and basically implying that it's, you know, going to be all about sex and all the rest of it. And it's kind of like, darling, and, you know, frankly, if Facebook paid any attention, it would notice that I've been single since about 2005. And no, I haven't in that time. So either I'm gonna hump the nearest thing, or I'm not bothered by that. And the fact that I haven't looked or found anyone, and I'm not overly bothered to go out and find one, it's just one of those things, is that, well, the problem for me is that the more I say I'm not interested in it, the more it seems to show me of it. And it's like, what part of, you know, I've even done the I find this offensive, because even though I don't particularly find it offensive, maybe if I say it's offensive, they'll stop showing me it. No. I can block every single one of them, and more appear. And it's just, one thing I will say is that if you are on Facebook and you say, I am not interested in these ads, and me too, I get quite a lot of those, because I'm never going to buy no crap from them, so don't bother showing me it. But it is, right? There is these things, and it's kind of like, the other one that I get is looking for someone to date in Milton Keynes. No, because that's like an hour and a half away. I'm not driving that far to meet someone that's probably not my type. You know, can we not? Well, it's a bit like when you get spam in your... I mean, obviously, right, well, I say obviously, these days not necessarily quite as true. I was born female. Really? Oh, for goodness sake. But I get tons of stuff about meeting people in Milton Keynes. No, I don't want to meet people in Milton Keynes. Hell, I don't even want to meet well, I guess I like my neighbours, but I barely want to meet some of the people who live like one street away, let alone Milton freaking Keynes. And you're like, you know, it's... Again, you almost can't get rid of it, because the meeting people thing is now part of Facebook. It's a bit like Facebook Marketplace, you know, it's now part of Facebook. Yeah, there is that. Mind you, you say that, back in the days when ICQ was new, right? You've got to be old to understand that one. I joined ICQ, and I wrote, you know, my name was Liz Kimber and I'm female. Didn't say where I was. I'm not that stupid, you know. Ping, you have message. Basically, come to my room in a hotel and we can all night. No. Did I ever say and suggest that that's what I joined ICQ for? No, that's not what I wanted. Thank you. Bye, block, ban. So yes, it's. I mean, have you ever heard the song that became popular with a wow front end? Really? Oh, blimey. And this is the thing, the ad, I mean, they don't even make quality ads anymore. Too much of Facebook is AI. I was watching, mainly because it played it whether I wanted it or not. There was some shit that started playing on while I was looking at something, and it was this bloke. Well, he's obviously got a bit of a problem, frankly. But, you know, not that we wish to judge too much, but that's a little bit specific. If you need to pop the cherry of lots of people, you're either being horrendously unsuccessful. Well, he can't advertise. Yeah, he can't advertise that he's after under 20, maybe. But you know, he probably wouldn't say no. It would be my thought. You know. Again, shouldn't really judge. But if that many years later you're still asking, you're considerably older, but you still want that exact match, really? Well, yeah. I mean, I was talking to some people on Threads today. Someone had posted about how they're sick of, you know, free this, when of course it's not free. So, for example, I've chucked it somewhere by the looks of it. I bought a thing, and it was supposed to be, buy this thing, and with no further cost, you can do this. So, I kind of expected it to be a bit of a scam, but it was really cheap, so I went for it. It does not do what they said on the tin, because it requires a SIM card. Well, if you have to keep telling everyone that, you know, maybe not, you know. But, you know, they were basically saying how many times have you seen an advert for, you know, download this for free? Well, yes, the download might be free, but you can't use it without a subscription. You can't do literally anything without paying monthly. And some of them, oh, well, you know, it's free, but you've got to pay for the app. Well, then it's not free. What part of paying for downloading of the app is free? So, like phone ones where you pay, like, you know, 25 quid. I'm picking really expensive ones, obviously. But, you know, you pay expensive thing, but at least then you get kind of like lifetime free whatever use of it. But it just strikes me that so many of these things, they advertise it as free, but you can't do anything unless you've paid money. Well, kind of in the UK, we have a thing where accurate descriptions are required. And you should be able to do them under trade descriptions because, you know, they've said this is free and it's not. Therefore, that is lying to you. But the question is, of course, is if they're lying to you about that, you know, it's free when it's not because you can't do jack crap without a subscription. Well, what else are they lying about? You know, who says that, you know, by the time it comes round for next year, they won't have doubled the cost, that they won't suddenly, you know, demand more money to keep using it now that you're really into it. You know, I hate things that advertise themselves as free, and then I don't mind it's free, but there are ads in it, as long as the ads are reasonable. Well, it depends. Like everything, the key answer is it depends on the wording. So, if, like the thing I bought that says very clearly on it, well, I'm not a lot different. So hang on, let me pull up my phone. Hang on. Somewhere in my pictures, I think I've still got a picture of it. Hang on. No, that wasn't it. You can't really see that, but it says, let me read it and then show you it. One-time payment with no monthly fees. Pay once and use forever. Just buy the router and you can surf the internet anywhere in the world, right? Yeah, but it needs a SIM card that has data. Well, they're not free now, are they? Nowhere is that free. You've got to pay for that. Well, then it's not free, is it? But it very, very, very specifically states it is free with no monthly fees. Well, there is. And this is where the British, at least, trades description get moody about. It's basically a little device, a bit like a phone tether, right? So that you could connect to the internet from anywhere. So it works just like your phone tether would. And you need a connection for that. But it says it uses satellite. Well, no, it doesn't. It uses a fucking SIM card. Now, technically that is satellite, but it's not satellite as in a satellite phone. It's not satellite as in it is using a mobile phone carrier signal SIM card to obtain that. And of course, well, that's not the same thing. And so it is a big, fat, stinky, stinky lie. Now, as I say, I kind of expected it to be bullshit, but, you know, it was worth a try, because even if it was a shit connection, it's still a spare connection, right? Because I live in an area that, although it's really reasonably populated, I mean, my old house is less than a mile's throw from here, and my old house is in not the largest. My ex-husband will tell you it's the largest village in the UK, not by a long way. But it is up there, right? It is pretty large for a village, right? I mean, there are towns that are smaller, right? But, you know, I live in a highly built-up area. I am not down the bottom of a well. I am not on the moon. And yet, the best internet I can get is currently 50 meg down, about 6 up. Which is why I can't stream this in 4K, because although I've got the equipment to show you it in 4K, I can't stream it 4K because my internet won't take it. Well, let's face it, it struggles even at 1920. So we know that this is pretty shit, and it dips out and it has funny farts, and so a backup would be nice, and that's all I really bought it for, would be a backup for. Because obviously I work from home, my phone doesn't work here because there's no fucking mobile signals. Well, you see, this is it, right? When we first moved up here, an ADSL was beginning to flicker onto the market. We had been paying, sit down, £412 a month for a 64k link to the internet. Now, 64k each way, to be fair, and it was up 24/7. We had a business agreement. £412 was more than our mortgage. More than what I needed to pay to buy the house. Right? It was a lot. And it meant that there was a lot kind of going on, but it was the only way we could get an internet that wouldn't run us up probably just as much in phone bills. So that's what we did. Now, did we like it? Not overly. But it worked. They forgot to charge us for a while. And when they suddenly realised they'd forgot to charge us, they demanded all the money. And we went, well, it's a business link. If you don't pay us, we're not going to if you don't send an invoice, we're not going to be paying it. Because, well, you know, we're not your mother. We're not going to chase after you going, ooh, ooh. Okay, mortgage, let me explain that. It's basically a bank loan. But they're a bit different, okay? In essence, and it's complicated, but what happens is you go to buy a home and you go, right, I want to buy this house, it's £100,000. I only have £80,000 of that. By the way, good luck finding a house for £100,000. But, you know, say you found a house, £100,000, you've got 20 in your savings, they'll let you buy a house for that. £80,000 of that needs to be borrowed from the bank. You then take out, usually a mortgage over 20 plus years. That's the commonish time. So it is a very long-term payment, which reduces the amount you have to pay, obviously. Now, the mortgages are a promise from the bank. They will stump up the money up front, and basically they buy your house. You arguably own it, but at the same time, if you fail to pay your mortgage, the bank can claim and argue that you have to sell up and move out, right? So you use your house as the collateral for the, so in effect, they own it, you're renting it off them, but it's not really that. You have to fix everything, you have to do everything, it is yours, you can do what you can do within legal rights, what you want to do with it, but you slowly buy it brick by brick, right? So with that in mind, most people have a mortgage because it's a hell of a lot cheaper than renting. But, when buying your house is, cheaper than your internet link, that is kind of sad, really. It's, buying a lot of bricks and mortar. Bear in mind, my old house was a 4-bedroom detached house, right? As is this one. But you're sitting there kind of going, why is it that a feeble internet link, because, 64k even then, it was, 64k then was better because, the average monitor resolution back then was 800 by 600, so let's put that into perspective. 1024 by 768 was getting common, but it was not the, quote, internet standard. So web pages were considerably smaller, had smaller graphics, all of that kind of stuff. And why is this being a pain? But you're all in the way. No, you're all in the way. That's right, I'm having problems because it's being annoying. There we go. So yes, just think of it as the government basically the bank buys your house and you buy it back off them brick by brick over a long period of time. A mortgage usually means you've paid 3 times the value of your house for your house, but then if you do the same with credit cards and you only pay minimum off every month kind of deal, you're going to pay far more than that. So from that point of view, it's just like anything else. You borrow it and then you pay back way more than you needed. So the best answer is of course, is if you can save up in advance, the better, right? But it is just one of those things, is that you find yourself sitting there going, my mortgage at the time was something like 350 quid. So percentage wise, that's quite a reasonable difference between, my mortgage, which buys me a 4-bedroom house, and a freaking internet link. And the internet link is more expensive. That just feels fundamentally wrong. To be honest, there are people currently today, admittedly, obviously it's years later and, all of those kind of things, who are paying more today for their electricity each month than I was paying for my mortgage back then was £72,000, right? So I don't have a mortgage now. I paid it all off because I'm a good girl. And I saved and I begged. Well, I didn't beg, but I saved and saved and saved. And I got to a point where, with mortgages, usually the rates, like most loans, will go up and down with the world around it because they're over such a long period of time. Now, you can get fixed rates mortgage, but usually the fixed rate is... Yeah, the fixed rate is usually more than the current rate, but if the current rate is trending upwards, it's still a good deal because Well, if you have a fixed rate mortgage for 4 years, you know that for the next 4 years, your payments can and will always be the exact same amount of money every single month. Which is quite reassuring, as we all know, because what you don't need is, hey, the government suddenly decided that the interest rate has doubled overnight. Hand over twice as much money for your mortgage. I don't earn that much. Okay. And to be fair, they do a lot of tests to prove that you should be able to afford your mortgage. But there are still limits because interest rates go up and suddenly your mortgage is, your wages only go up once a year if you're lucky. And as a result of which, what you could afford it when it was this rate, but you can't really afford it now it's that rate because it's more than you earn. Whereas when maybe you started, you earn 3 times the amount your mortgage payment was, and it was fine. And this happened quite a lot, and it happened here in England a couple of years ago, beginning of last year, I think it was, when finally... Now, I need to explain this. In 1995, I took out my first mortgage, and my mortgage rate was 6.99%, right? And I had a salary of £11,000. I paid that mortgage on my salary for £72,000, and life was good. Then there was the whole endowment mortgage debacle, where basically loads of us had been conned into taking out a savings plan. Okay, take care, sleep well. Hey, naughty kelp, I'm sewing in ends again. But now I've learnt to cut the bobbins off, it is better on my sanity because I don't fight the bobbins so much, and then it doesn't tend to knot round the piece of cord on this tool because, well, it can't flip, and I can then pull this out and, well, it just pulls out, and then all I have to do is put the pin back to make sure it's in the right spot, and we tie a knot around it. What are you doing, dog? Does this look funny? No, I don't need your help. This is hard enough without dog's help. This looks wrong for some reason. I've got a feeling it's just because I've poked the pin in properly and I've trapped some threads. Yes. See? I know what I'm doing. Let's put the pin back. Right. And now I can do your knots properly, naughty kelp, because, well, now I've actually got ends and I don't have frigging 4-inch wooden stakes attached to it. So I can now actually do left over right and twiddle, and left over right and right over left and twiddle. So what I tend to do, of course, is cheat, but I can now do knots because I don't have bobbins on the end of everything. This is part of the reason that getting rid of the bobbins is good, because there's less bobbins on my pillow, and it does feel good to tie off the bobbins, to be honest. string broke. Fortunately, I have plenty of string. I've also got more string I can put in it, but where's my pin? Put it back in here. It's stupid that I put the pins back in, but it helps make sure that nothing moves and that we don't distort anything. Oops, that's round a pin. I can feel that. Have I got my glasses on? Yeah, I've got my glasses. You farting making that noise. The dog crawling around on the bed, he's obviously moved against something, but it made that kind of noise that only can come out of a doggy butt. I mean, this is still slow, but it's a lot faster than it was when we did it the traditional manner. And my sanity very much appreciates the simpler, by the fact that it's not attached to a bobbin part of it. Still hate picking these pins out, of course, but that's not so evil. So I need to pull on you. How did you do that? It was This is me sewing in ends. So now you can see what I meant about how ours is similar. So I've just shoved my magic tool through the hole to pull this. Now, admittedly, traditionally you do not detach them from the bobbins, but having 4-inch bits of wood on the end of your string is a real pain in the arse. So I have chosen, for my sanity, to chop the bobbins out of the deal so that when I come to tie the knots, I don't lose my marbles because, well, frankly, that was a thing. And so I chop my bobbins off and then I tie a knot in it because, well, that's the thing. You are allowed, this is the only place in lace making where knots are permitted. But even then, you know, it's still kind of the dirty way of doing it. But life is short. If you watch how I poke this through a hole, you will understand very much why tying a knot and not working this round a whole bunch of holes is a thing. So I get my next bobbin of choice and I make them longer because, well, long ends are always a thing. I add an extra cross because they always seem to disappear, because what they do, chop off the first bobbin, get a magic tool, pull out the pin that's holding the hole that I'm going to be using, poke my thing through the hole. Oh, for explanation, this is a needle that came pre-bent. I like the curved ones, I don't like the angular ones. So the eye of the needle is this end, the pointy end would be on the inside. So that you can poke it through the hole. Now, if you get it wrong, it goes all the way through the hole and into the pillow, and you have to do it again. But you need to go underneath, so you've effectively gone through the hole. You then have the little loop of thread that was on your tool and poke the thread that I cut earlier through the hole, so that when you pull the tool back and pull on the string, it pulls the thread through the hole. Now the thread's through the hole, you put the pin back so that it ends up in the right place. Well, you don't want to distort everything. Then you chop the other bobbin off, because you don't need that either, and tie a knot in it. Like that. And that is a lot quicker than when you try and do it with the bobbins on the end of it. Because what you did before was, let's show you how it was supposed to work, but I will not go through the knots because you'll understand why in a second. So if I pull out this pin, one pin, out, your neck. Right, if I shove my tool through the knot, through the hole, I've then got my little loop of thread that I can poke things through, so I make it a bit bigger. The idea was you put the bobbin through like this, and then you pull on these two so that the bobbin comes through and makes a loop, like this, right? Then you pass this bobbin, this is just like you're tatting, through the loop. Well, technically that makes a knot now, doesn't it? Well, the problem is, then when you make a knot on top of that, but then your knot's kind of fatter and taller, and so what I do is I chop the bobbin off, because tying knots with 4-inch sticks on the end of it is a complication in life you really, really don't need. So I'm going to do that now, as if I had done it the way I was going to do it, which is, so it's now pulled through the hole. Chop the other one, tie a knot. It's a lot quicker because you're not fighting 4-inch sticks and trying to shove 4-inch sticks through a hole. Ooh, you know, you just kind of, you're fighting against things that don't need fighting, especially as this is at the end of it all, and you just want to tie a knot in it and get rid of it. Well, so keeping it on the pins is really not helping anybody. They're just in the way. So let's not keep them in the way. Let's get rid of them, because tying knots in bits of string is a lot easier than tying knots with, like, you know, javelin poles. So as I get to the bottom of this line, I sew them in. because then there are less bobbins on my pillow and there's more room, which frankly is always a benefit, because they're not in your way then. So it takes a lot less time. If you imagine having to do this, now admittedly you can't do this with a bobbin on the end of it, because, well, you can't, right? But having to poke this through a whole bunch of holes, which does give, I'm not going to say it doesn't do a better job, because it does do a really good job of you know, making a nice end. There are no knots. It's great. But my sanity doesn't take it. Now, I do think that this would help. I think if I did this and chopped the bobbins off in the first place, I could potentially speed up what I did when I did the little square of insanity. But the truth of the matter, doesn't really matter. It's only me who's going to see this stupid neck curtain at the end of it. So, you know, I'm happy with knots. And oh, and by the way, just because I'm paranoid, I then super glue them. Because, well, bite me. I don't want to wash and discover that my knots come undone because, you know, unlike Naughty Celt, who is a master of knots, I do knots and I know how to do knots, but at the same time, I don't have the belief in them because they're tiny little tiny bits of string. And I'm sorry, but 2 friggin' knots is not enough to make, when, especially as you can't exactly. Let me explain why I think this knot is wrong. So, you're supposed to do left over right and round, okay? So now the left one's on the right. They then say do right over left and round. Well, surely that means this one went round this one and this one did shag all and it will just pull out. Because most of the times, yeah, it does. Naughty Celt's going, no it doesn't, no it doesn't, no it doesn't. Bite me, it does. When I do it, it freaking does. So knowing that mines do, a little bit of super glue, just to stop them coming undone, because then you can trim them nice and short. Because of course, if you trim them, well, you've got nothing to tie with now, have you? You can't exactly glue a bit on the end and give it a go. So, yeah, I am not a master of knots. I have no belief in my knots, and so I will be super gluing them at the end, just for good measure. And yes, it does make a bit of a crunchy, solid chunk as the back of my knot, but it also means I can wash it without fear. And given that it's going to be a net curtain and open to the elements, I say I'm going to wash it. That's no bullshit. I'll wash it probably once. But at the same time, can you imagine spending all this time on it and watching it fall apart because you put it in a bucket of water? No, my sanity wouldn't. I would be in the funny farm in 20 minutes. I just couldn't cope with having spent all this time making it, all the blood, sweat and tears, and watching it fall apart would just break me. So, super glue it is. Oh, stop falling on the floor. That's right. I need to put my bobbins in the box. Exactly, and to me that just means it goes round the right one and the right one never moves, and so you'll just be able to go and pull them apart. So my brain says no to that. So in honour of my brain cells, because as I said, my sanity does not want to accept that this is a strong enough knot, I will be super gluing them, because bite me. I know it's not right, it's certainly not traditional, but I'm the one living with it, you know, I'm the one who's made it, so if I want to super glue it, I'm gonna fucking super glue it. Where's my pen? It is for my sanity. I mean, I know that, if I did left over right, and then the left one's now on the right, and then left over right again, I would believe that that would be more stable. Now, Naughty Celt's going to go, no, it's not. But I could believe that that is more stable on the simple ground that it would be a different thread doing the knot, right? So you'd make a knot with one hand. It is a granny knot, but I can believe that if this one's gone around this one and then this one goes around this one, that it would make a stronger knot. Whereas if this one goes around this one and then this one goes around this one, surely this one's just gone round and round and the other one's sitting there going, what? It's no. So with that in mind, a bit of glue just for my sanity is fine. I mean, it shows, well, you can see it a bit more in person. You can, but at the same time, my sanity feels stable knowing that it's not just going to unravel, or that, you know, a tiny bit of tension in it won't just go blim, and there'll be a big hole in it. You know, I don't want that. And as I say, I know it's not traditional, and I know that, you know, thousands of lace making ancestors are kind of going, hey, goodness, what a hideous child. That's fine. That is fine, honey. You can hate me. I'm living with this thing, so, you know, bye me. And there'll be 3 more pairs at the bottom of this. So let me look. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Yeah. This is right. That's right. I was just checking. I've got all the pairs of bobbins I need to do this. You know how it is. Brain farts and all the rest of it. I need to make sure I have the right number of bobbins come the end. So. You come out. Go over there. Get out of the way. It is a pleasure when you get towards the bottom of the triangle and you've chopped off loads of bobbins and you've got this vast amount of space on the pillow, it seems, having, you know, sat there previously trying to do, you know, a whole ton of bobbins in a very small spot, and it is quite liberating to get towards the end with a pile of bobbins going, yep. I mean, at the end there'll be, I think it's 12 pairs of bobbins or something, but it's still nothing compared to the 35 when you started, so over there. Oh, out the way. Thank you. No, stop rolling. Seriously, it's... Gravity says go that way. And I can prove it. She says, getting sulky with her thing. Hang on. I've got a tool. I've got a spirit level. Hang on. Metal box. Come on. Where's my spirit level? There's my spirit level. No, I want the spirit level to be that way up on there. See, it says it's sloping that way. Slope that way a bit more then. Right. Stop rolling forwards and getting on my nerves. Thank you. Because obviously rolling bobbins is the only downside of lace making, is they love to roll around, and some of them, as they roll around, undo and become really annoying, and then get longer or fall apart and generally just be a bit crap. Our company, bear in mind I changed employers in December, our company does a thing called Wellness Hour, and once a month you have to, well, you're supposed to, I don't think they kill you if you don't, but they encourage you strongly, that's probably the best word, to do something to learn, change. It can be go for a walk. It does not have to be anything more complex than that. And so I thought I would try yet another style of lace. So, having been contemplating it, because, well, that's what my brain does, and you're too long because you've been rolling around and undoing yourself, give me the loop! Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right, just check. I haven't got too many now. And so I have decided to pick one, and it's called Flanders. As in Ned Flanders, kind of Flanders. And in essence, every pin here are 2 pairs of bobbins meeting. Now, like this, where I've put a pin in between these bobbins will twist and then go back round the pin. But, in essence, every pinhole here is 2 pairs of bobbins, so 4 bobbins. Just picture that. Under Flanders, it's 4 pairs of bobbins for every pin. Can you see my sanity just running out the door? It's kind of over the hill now, you know. Now, I'm not going to do a big piece because, well, sanity. But I am... Now, why would I be interested in Flanders? Because clearly my sanity is not. Because... Oh, piss off, hands. Flanders... Right, torsion is used to make geometric shapes. Buck's Point is more floral. Bedfordshire is more... stringy. That's the best word for beds. Beds has lots of little plaits and leaf shapes on it. They're called tallies, but they're little leaf-shaped things. They make flowers out of them, but they're little leaf-shaped things. You know, they're little pointy oval kind of leaf-shaped things. Now, everywhere, arguably, has its own lace thing. And I've mentioned this a few times on stream, is that lace works a little bit like everyone went on a lace making course and went back to their hometown. So I'm just checking I didn't miss a bit in the hole. Top one, the next one. See, that doesn't look right because the last one. 1, 2, 3. I feel bad. Okay, that's all right. We can undo that. At least I notice now, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so Flanders is Belgium, and it's really good for making pictures. So here is a picture. So for example, I know it's shiny, sorry. Everything's fucking shiny in the world, you should know that. So here is the house that is made of Flanders. Now Flanders, however, obviously with that many bobbins, is not delicate like my Buck's Point bookmark, which is a thing of beauty, let's truly be honest. It is not a delicate thing. It is a much more robust, kind of strong, industrial thing. But it is more designed for making pictures. Now, much as that's kind of not my bag per se, that's not really where I'm at. I'm not into pictures, but it means that it's designed in such, it works in such a way that although much like this is very similar, you use a gimp thread between the ground and some of the picture to, you know, make a neater edge to it, shall we call it? Because if you think of like my little edge here along the cloth stitch, it's actually quite bubbly along the edge. The gimp thread gives you much more of a line, so your brain draws a straighter line around it, because, well, there is one. And like everything, to help design what you want, you have to understand the options available. Now, as I say, I don't imagine me really getting on with Flanders. Binch, it might be called Banch, it's French. I don't honestly know how to pronounce it. It's spelled B-I-N-C-H-E. They're French, they do strange things, so, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I have the right pronunciation. But I'm going with Binch, because that's how it looks, and I'm dyslexic, so you know, if you ever hear a weird word, chances are I'm pronouncing it the way it's spelt, and if you type it in as it sounds, you'll probably find it. Binch is basically identical to Flanders, give or take a real couple of minor details. So with that in mind, you know, I can do next month as Binch or something and continue on the project. So, but I have to book it and everything. Well, there you go. That was fairly painless for you then. Everyone gets different ads, which just strikes me as overly complicated for the sheer shit of it all. But of course, they're targeted ads, I guess. Well, this is part of the thing I don't understand about Facebook. I have never bought anything advertised on Facebook in the... I must have been there 20-something years, right? So what... Throwing more ads at me is not going to change that. Especially when it's of stuff that I really don't give a frig about, you know? Because if I cared, it's a bit like when you get the thing through your door that says, you know, hi, we're the local estate agent group, you know, insert some name, right? We're looking for houses just like yours to sell. Well, darling, if I wanted to sell my house, I probably would have looked for one. You know, let's truly be honest here. You know, I'm hardly likely to go, hey, fuck it, honey, let's sell the house because you've dropped a note through the door. It's funny you should say that. As I said, I was looking at this, I'll call it an ad because it was kind of an ad, but there was this dude in a goatee having a chat about something. And to be honest, I have no idea what he was chatting about because I was too transfixed on the fact that it was clearly kind of AI munged video because it was clearly some dude's face and, you know, let's say they took a photo of you and they used your face. And then they'd adjusted it to make it look like he was talking. Now, they'd done it pretty well, because I can lip read, and he, you know, the words coming out of his mouth were fitting the words that you could hear. However, when it moved a bit, his beard went blurry. But only his beard. And I just got stuck on the fact that his beard kept going blurry and mangy, and it was like... This is terrible. To the point I don't even know what it was I was watching. So clearly wasn't very effective. Yeah. Put my tin away. I'm a prat. Put the bobbins over there. We think of all the insanity I had when I did the little square of insanity. This is definitely much more Liz sanity friendly way of doing the ends, and it results in the same deal, to be honest. So it's, you know, it's not wrong. It's just not what they did traditionally, because they kept the bobbins on, but the bobbins staying on make me insane. So I mean, you're only going to chop them off later. Does it really matter if you do it before or after? If it makes it easier without, surely without is a good reason, you know. Because you get to make more lace later if you're sane, you know. Because I can pass my loose end through, grab the end of my stick, and look, pulls through. I then undo the other one, because this stops me using the wrong one. Undo the other one. Chop. Sling in the pot. Put the pin back in to make sure that the things are all in the right place. Like that. Tie a knot. And then it's done. And I can do the next one. And because they're coming off there, I need to do 2 twists because there are no twists in it naturally. So we grab that, we snip, we chuck. So I'm half watching a stream of a game that is being worked on that isn't out yet. And someone's kind of... And part of the problem with creativity is if you try and force it, and this is part of the reason I randomly take days off, right? If you force it when you're really not in the mood, you can begin to resent it. So, for example, as we know, I've clearly got plenty more triangles and squares to go. And, you know, am I getting a little bored of the same pattern? I won't say I'm getting bored, but my brain is beginning to wander. That's certainly more accurate. I'm not bored of it, but my brain is beginning to kind of wander off into the world. And did I not poke that through the hull? I didn't, did I? No, let's poke this through the hull. I thought I did. Apparently not. Let's put you over there. But like a lot of these things, you know, you can only do, you know, if you especially like you're trying to design something, if you were making, you know, you've got a book and you're following a pattern, that's one thing, right? Because, you know, you just got to tie the knots and twist the twists or whatever to make it all work. But when you're planning one, when you're designing something, you can't force creativity. It just doesn't work. And this, of course, is why, you know, artists and writers get grumpy, because, you know, they're on a deadline. You know, they've got editors and people going, oh, you need to do this to keep the momentum, and, you know, all of this kind of crap. And yet, right here, right now, they're not in the mood. And if you force it, it inevitably ends up being crap. Because you do the kid half-assed job, you know, tidy your room, child. Fucking chuck a couple of things in a box. You know, kick a few things under the bed. Yeah, it'll do. And that's it. You've moved on, right? Mentally, you've now moved on. You're not in the mood because you were never in the mood in the first place. And so with that in mind, it just doesn't happen. And creativity suffers the same in that if you try and force it, you do kind of a minimal half-assed job and it won't be good at the end of it, and it'll be a waste of time, frankly, because, you know, everyone will hate it, including you. So, you know, let's not... Does it feel right? Yeah, it is. Okay. So, yeah, it is... I found that it's best not to try and force creativity. You have to kind of go when you're in the mood. I mean, look, you know, if you think of how much of this I did on Sunday, I went from having done a tiny little top-hand corner to completing a triangle on Sunday. Now, normally, that's a few days, most of a week. But I did it in a Sunday afternoon. I was on fire, right? Now, that's a great thing, that really is. But it's not always possible. I can't force that to happen. And so like today, I would, you know, it's now 9 o'clock, thinking I really ought to wind up because it takes, Christ knows how long for my internet to upload stupid videos at the end of it. But I've got a bit more I think I can do. But there isn't a lot more I can do because I can, you know, I'll be able to do like this downward bit here and probably about it. But if I try and force myself to be faster, all that happens is I'll make stupid mistakes. Now, let's face it, I'm good enough at those already. I don't really need any assistance with that. So from that point of view, it's kind of, you can't force these things to work out. And so you just have to kind of go with the flow a little bit. And, you know, you want, it's not that you don't want to do it, it's just that at the same time you're not really in the mood to be designing or making or whatever it is you're doing, right? Oh, I need to put my pen back in. Especially if this one's a bit noisy, because for some reason I think I've screwed that one up once, but that means we won't screw it up. So we've now tied off. That's about 15 of them. So, you know, we've tied off quite a few ends now. I mean, we've only tied off 10 today, but it's still 2 sticks worth. So there's 2 sticks less worth of bobbins. So we're 3 sticks down now. I mean, I could trim all the ends, right? I could trim all these ends, but I tend to do it because you can hang on to the ends while to pull them up to help glue right at the base. I'm not stupid, right? You know, I am doing it kind of with a plan. See, why is there 3 bobbins left when I pull the 5 out to put on a stick? Yeah. But you see, I can pull all of these pins out now. There's no need for any of these pins past about here because, well, there just isn't. I don't need you for a while, but it seems a little bit stupid putting you in a stick on your own. I'm going to put 2 of you at least in here because. Right, you can go in there. You're part of the from the other side. Actually, I'm going to poke you in here as well. I know there isn't really room for you, but bite me. You can just all live together. Be friendly. This has all got tangled up because it's slipped forward. There we go. You're all tangled back there. There you go. There you go. I want to use you, but you're hiding. This is not going to make it to the end. That's going to be annoying. If you're going to be shitty, you can have a pin. You two are too long. To be honest, Nautica, I think we all had plans for the winter and then they just didn't happen. I mean, let's face it, I expected to do a hell of a lot more of this over Christmas when I was off than I did. I pretty much just kept the same schedule as when I was working. And I don't know quite what happened to the 28 days I had off work, which was roughly how many I had, because I went back to work and I honestly couldn't remember anything specific about any of them. So it was like it never happened. It was a bit disappointing, really. Because I don't think my new employer is going to be too happy if I try it again this year, even though I'm still working for the company who were happy for me to do it. So probably won't get away with that one again. Yeah, if it's any consolation, I meant to... bear in mind, I discovered that my car had broken down 12th of August last year. Well, I found out that you're not allowed to insure a vehicle without an MOT. Well, you can insure a vehicle without an MOT. You're just wasting your money. And so I really ought to get an MOT for my car because my MOT ran out at the end, well, nearly the end of just before Christmas. I don't have a tax disc on it because I don't have an MOT on it. And so I've got to do all of that before the 6th of April. Well, the garage that I usually use is shut on a Monday, so I didn't do it yesterday. And today's not Tuesday, so what happened to yesterday? Because I was going to do it yesterday, but it didn't happen. But it didn't happen today either. And today's Wednesday, right? Well, I'm really confused because I could have sworn yesterday was Monday. And, well, time is strongly ticking. So I do need to do something with my car, because, well, I really do. I mean, I don't need a car, but you of all people will understand. I need a car for when something happens to the dog and I need to take the dog to the vet. That is the only time I honestly will need a car, because if I truly want to go somewhere, I can get a cab. A lot of cabs won't take animals, and a lot of cabs certainly won't take bleeding ill animals. So I need a car. I think I went almost. I think I've gone one pin too many. Yeah, might have done. Hang on. Let's push you around a sec. Put you over the top. Slide you around. Because you've all mated with pins. Because what I can do, I know it seems stupid pushing them down now, but if I push these down as the edge ones, it helps restrict with the ones that I can pull out. Yep. So I'm missing all of these, you know. Like that. There we go. Round the corner. But it's too easy to do. Time can just run away from you. You know, you get up, you have all these great intentions. The next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock, it's dark, and it's a bit late now. And I suffer from that a lot, especially in the winter. It's the one thing I think that's one of the reasons I don't believe in like the seasonal adjustment disorder. I believe it's perfectly natural, because when you get up in the morning and it's dark, you have sideways rain and it's dark because it's stormy, and you know the sun's behind 68 miles of cloud, so it's dark, and then it properly gets dark and the sideways rain continues. Where is the joy in that? You can hardly go out and enjoy that. And of course they're talking of storms again. So as of Friday morning, I think it is, they're talking of life-threatening storms here in the UK. Don't go out in it, numbnuts. Am I the only one that sees the stupidity in that? You know, let's not be going out in it then. Surely, you know, we'll stay at home. So yeah, so it's going to be windy. There'll be fence panels and roofs to fix afterwards. But it's just too easy to kind of find that time has run by and you've done none of the things you meant to. And tomorrow you get up once again with all the good intentions, get to the end of it and find you did none of them. But you also can't necessarily say what you did do with any of it. It's just that, well, the time's passed and it's later now, you know. Can't believe I'm going to have to add thread for this bobbin before the end, but I'm not going to need a lot, am I? Sigh. I've missed a pin off. How do you know when you've missed a pin off, Liz? Because you end up with more pinholes on the other side than you've got space for, so these will need to move up a hole. Fortunately, usually they do this without a fight, like they're doing. Didn't add one, did I? 1, 2, 3. No. See, this is slipping now because there isn't enough thread on here to kind of keep it tight, shall we call it. It just kind of wants to undo. It doesn't help that the knots also come undone. But there really isn't enough grunt on the bottom. That's just proved by the fact that it's just come off. Oh, now the knot wants to hold. Of course it wants to hold now. So we didn't achieve quite as much as we were hoping to do today, but we did tie off 10 pairs of bobbins. So that is not a bad place to find ourselves in. As I said, you know, we've taken off nearly a third of the bobbins. Well, it is about a third of the bobbins, so it's not a bad thing, really isn't. And we can see, you know, how many mistakes can we see? Yeah, look, there's something funky there. Isn't that always how it works? As I said, you only see these things after. Definitely something funky slightly there, but nothing drastic. We find a few errors usually along the way. But that's me for today. We will be back tomorrow, almost certainly. I'm kind of in the mood. I really want to get to the end of this square. And then I want to do something else for a couple of days. So I probably will have a go at Flanders just for the sheer fun of it. The advantage is that work can pay me for an hour of it. So, hurrah. It was nice to see you again, Nauticelt. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I miss you when you're not. I miss people who are not here, who often come. Because, well, it's nice to have some voices to talk to and or text to talk to, people to talk to and have a conversation with rather than just sit here. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I sit here and don't talk to anybody and get on with it, it does go a bit quicker. But there's no fun in that. I mean, it's probably a bit more fun if you watch it as a after the fact video. But, meh. Anyway, I shall be back tomorrow. Thank you all for coming. And I shall see you then. Bye-bye.